Hello, welcome to our channel. We appreciate each and every one of you. Welcome. We've been doing this since 2009. We've been involved in politics and saving this country ever since I was 23. So that's been 44 years. It's been a long time. The things that are happening now, we know about. We know what's going on. Absolutely. I talked about it when I was 23, and now it's coming about 44 years later. So this is brought to you by Get the Tea. I am going to have some more sea vegetables because I feel kind of down in the weather, like I haven't been getting enough nutrients. So I'll open a brand new one of these. I don't care. I got so many of these around the house. They're from Get the Tea. And my body happens to like 2 in the morning and 2 at night. We're not going to say what seaweed does. You can look it up in the National Institutes of Health. But anyway, welcome. So I'll have, I endorse their product because I use it all the time. Anyway, Get the Tea, 928-308-0408. It's really simple. Get the Tea. I don't want the big C. You don't want the big C. You don't want to go into some kind of a status where you get the big C or anything else. Just making sure it's still on. We've had a few problems with our illustrious boys in the FBI. They get a little bit too ambitious about blocking the news. Anyway, this is an incredible day. Very incredible. So Get the Tea. I know they give me something that I'm supposed to say. Use Mount, save 10% off. But you know what? I just happen to love the company and I love their products. They're all high quality. I buy from other companies and their products don't work. Anyway, my power bill. I cut my electrical use by 52%. I cut it in half from 62 to 30 to 3,000 kilowatts per month. And my power bill went from 640 to 520. So I cut my power use by 52%. My power bill went down 18%. So this is a for-profit company. Your power company is a for-profit company. That's why they have to use a 54-cent stamp. Because they're a for-profit, so they're charging whatever they can get away with. Now, the city's supposed to manage it, but they're taking all the money for DEI. Well, they're managing it all right. They're stealing all the money for their own private pockets. They get raises, and we get raises, and we have to pay for them. Anyway, so your power company is no doubt a private corporation. And a little bit about what's going on around the world. First with Trump. Air Force One in the upper right hand, right here where the co-pilot sits, there's some loose wiring because the wirings come loose. Cockroaches, eating the wiring, and then the mice eating the cockroaches, and the cat eating the mice. And then in the right rear, behind the panel, is a big, huge thing that goes boom and is remote controlled. Stop using illegal aliens to repair, or any aliens to repair Air Force One. Stop using libtards to repair Air Force One. Get your old maintenance crew back. Your new maintenance crew has some holes in it. And I think those holes are going to show up. Anyway, keep that upper right compartment. Maybe after you look through it, weld it shut. Why you have illegal aliens working on tail number 28,000 and 29,000, I have no idea. Except maybe you were sued. I don't know. You're supposed to be the chief executive. How can you be sued by a lower court? Very clearly, the Organic Constitution of 1871 says you can only be affected by the Supreme Court. The lower courts to you are meaningless. But who cares? Just disobey United States Code 18 and don't arrest them. I mean, what good is United States Code 18? We might as well burn. Oh, for the common people. Yeah, that's right. For us little people. And Moscow, 24 hours, NSSA, FBI, 1 to 3 KT, Southwest Moscow. In 2.5 weeks, Hermitage, they want to destroy the records that clearly say that the Russian church is superior to the Roman church. They want to destroy those records. Well, why not? You're not putting up any resistance, Russia. We told you ask where those records are. You never came. You don't even know where they are. I do. I've stood next to them. Anyway, Trump, this is hilarious. Trump makes a comment, and I gotta read you this comment. It's hilarious. There is no Joe Biden. Executed in 2020, Biden clones, doubles, and robotic engineers, soulless, mindless entities are what you see. Duh, he's finally telling the truth. Biden is either a double. Look, I had a friend of mine walk by the White House, and he looked in the presidential limo, and there were 3 Obamas smoking and joking. 3. Not 1, not 2, but 3. They all looked the same, and they were all passing, and they were all smoking cigarettes. Who knows? They could have been smoking joints, but he said they were cigarettes. Well, that has caused quite the stir, hasn't it? New York Times says, oh, he's full of it, he's full of it. Yeah? How come George Soros' face changed? And the Frazzled Rat's face changed. Hillary and Hillary's face have changed. Bill Gates is recorded as dead. There's a death certificate for him. There's so many people right now that are dead that are still functioning because the elites don't know what else to do but to keep the same thing going. Assad never aged. President Assad of Syria didn't age in 20 years. Some of these executives who work in the White House haven't aged in 20 years. Get a clue. They're either wearing a mask, they're a double, or they're a clone. So Biden was asked about several executive orders dealing with money. He says, I don't remember those executive orders. I didn't sign those executive orders. When he was asked about the executive orders, well, I pardoned him, and I pardoned him, and I pardoned her. He didn't remember signing those. Well, under United States Code 18, impersonating the president is an arrestable offense, 20 years in jail, or 3 to 5 years, depending on which United States code you read, for each offense. Well, what were there, 167 executive orders, Zig Heil? That means 167 times minimum 3 years in jail, Elizabeth Warren and Jill Biden's chief of staff. But there's no arrests. The elites don't get arrested. James Comey's still on TV laughing. I'm going to kill Trump. I'm going to kill Trump. He's not in jail, is he? The former head of the SS, the FBI, the stormtroopers, led by the Gestapo, the Department of Justice, he's laughing about killing Trump. Laughing. On television. So, we have a problem with law enforcement in the United States. The president isn't stepping up to enforce the law. And, let's see. The halls of Congress are still empty. The halls of the Supreme Court. Honeybee walks by. Nancy Drew walks by and films it, and there ain't nobody there. No cars. Oh, they're coming up from underground. No, that's why it says Mr. Joe Brown, not Congressman Joe Brown. It says Mr. Congress has been dissolved. The Supreme Court has been dissolved. It's all being run by doubles. 4 of the 7 Supreme Court people have died. They're masks or clones. Like the California governor said on TV, everybody watched it. It was on YouTube before the FBI took it down, where the California governor Newsom said, I am a clone, I answer to an AI. Well, if Grok from X is now taking over as the AI, why am I still censored? Because the FBI is still on YouTube, no arrests. They can do whatever they want. They're laughing in President Trump's face. We can do whatever we can say we're going to kill him and get away with it. I just roll my eyes. Why do I even tell you about explosives in Air Force One, 28,000? Why do I even tell you about loose wiring above the co-pilot's head? I don't know. You're letting people run around saying they're going to kill you. I told you I had 300 military volunteers who would go in and bust heads and arrest them. But no. And finally, this is insane. Using our taxpayer money. $1 billion a day. Our taxpayer money. Ukraine assembled Chinese-made drones. You have to get this. Europe and Ukraine put together Chinese drones paid for with our taxpayer money. Ukrainians launched a huge drone attack using our satellite guidance systems and our military intelligence and the FBI to launch them all over Russia because their range isn't 400 miles. So the FBI out of the embassy in Russia had to go there with boxes, diplomatic boxes, and launch them. Using our satellite technology, we pummeled a lot of Russian 70-year-old bombers. Now, when Pearl Harbor was attacked 80 years ago, it was indicative of the fact that battleships were no longer the mainstay of the war. It was carriers with airplanes. General Billy Mitchell was court-martialed and thrown out of the service for proving that back in the 20s. He bombed the unsinkable German battleship, and it sunk, and it embarrassed the command staff, so they crucified him because he was right. He had the audacity to say, someday planes will fly 200 or 300 miles an hour, maybe even 400 or 500 miles an hour. And at that point, battleships they're useless, except to bombard coastlands. Well, they prosecuted him for that. Well, now, so the battleship was made invalid. We could have bombarded those islands with small cruisers. And now jets are made obsolete. The B-52 they flew in 1952, 72 years ago. Wings are falling off. So we couldn't build another B-52. They are good command and control centers, but they're huge targets that can be hit with a Scram missile. So now we're entering a stage of Scram missiles and drones. That's the FBI giving me another fake call. I'll have to turn hello? Yeah, even though I turned it off, they were able to get through. That's how you know it's the FBI. And all those porn pictures on the left-hand side, sorry, that's all FBI. They're showing their faces. So, using our taxpayer dollars, we attacked bombers 400 miles from the Ukraine. The Ukrainians, using our taxpayer money and our explosives, C4, blew up 2 bridges which killed civilians. The drones did not just attack the old Su, whatever they are, bombers, big, huge 4-engine bombers. What they did was they attacked bridges to kill civilians. You see, the Ukraine has a philosophy, kill Russian civilians. Russia has a philosophy that Luhansk and Donetsk, 2 states in the 1991 treaty, decided to leave the Ukraine and rejoin Russia. And in accordance with that treaty, which has never been canceled, they have the right to do that. Well, the United States has spent, what's $1 billion from 1992, $1 billion per month add up to? Plus, we're giving all those refugees who live in Kiev $8,000 a month. That's a lot of money to be giving refugees all over the world. And Social Security said we have 80 million of them 15 years ago. We've got over 120 million of them. And let me tell you, Europe and China are screaming. India is screaming. Ukraine is screaming, because that money may get cut off, and when it gets cut off, their economies will collapse. And that means WAR, China has no option. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Trump is still sending money, and I don't know if he can stop it. He's trying. He's still sending money and negotiating with a man who uses cocaine and puts his pants on backwards with a zipper showing. Why would President Trump even want to negotiate with a comedian who puts his pants on backwards and is a porn star? Why would Trump negotiate with a porn star with a man who has a zipper on backwards? Meaning with another guy high on cocaine. If you bend over and give your life to Lucifer, you can do anything you want. I've been offered into 5 cults. Skull and Bones, Open a Pilgrim Society, Masonic, Human Sacrificing Lodge, Human Sacrificing Lodge, Human Sacrificing Lodge. So I've been invited into 5 satanic cults. I've seen what they do. Some people recorded it for me. And Trump's negotiating with a cocaine addict who puts his pants on backwards. And then goes out in the public and nobody says anything because the Prime Minister of Germany doesn't even notice that he's got his pants on backwards. She doesn't even notice that he's got his pants on backwards. That his zipper is showing. We're negotiating with a man who puts his pants on backwards. Goes out into public and nobody notices. These people are twisted in the brain. That's not a doctored picture. It's a long-range photograph. So the Ukraine pummeled Russia with the purpose of killing civilians. It's a violation of the Articles of War, which is sitting right over there. Ukraine has violated the Articles of War. Of course, the United States is still making phosgene gas, which is a violation of the Articles of War. And the Army little wimpy did nothing about it. That's what happened in Ohio. They derailed 5 train cars to get that phosgene gas in the groundwater and to have it go. They waited till the wind was right over the Amish in Ohio. Phosgene gas. We used it in World War I to kill tens of thousands of people. And we used lewisite, another nasty gas, to blind and kill tens of thousands of people. Now they're using it at the VA to treat cancer when they published the cure for cancer in 1946. I didn't do it. They did it. So anyway, you'll hear me talk about that, and I'm not allowed to say what it is. And that was the name of the field manual. And anyway, I'm not allowed to talk about that, so I won't. So using Chinese parts assembled across Europe and using German-made missiles, Putin said, you use those long range to attack us, civilian targets, it's an act of war. And Germany said, kiss my rear. The guy who doesn't even notice that Zelensky's pants are on backwards. These people are there to do a job. They're part of a satanic cult. They're risen to the top, and they're there to start WW3. Decrease the world population. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But can you believe Trump's negotiating with a man who puts his pants on backwards and with other men and women who don't even notice it? Hello? They don't even notice that his zipper's on his backside. What, is he an alien with a hooda in his backside? No, he's just plain. He's negotiating with a madman, an incompetent porn star. Anyway, I suppose I'm not welcome in the Ukraine anymore. 3 presidents ago they loved me, and 2 presidents ago they loved me. But Poroshenko and Zelensky would probably have me arrested and shot because I tell the truth. Yanukovych and Yushchenko like the truth, and Porky and Zelensky hate the truth, and Trump's negotiating with them. What the friggin'? They're putting an explosive device in the right-hand side of Air Force One, and he's still negotiating with him? Hello, President Trump. Trying to save your life. 14 June, God bless. Thank you very much. My goal is to save Trump's life. I do what God asked me to do. And that's all that matters. Do I care what happens? No. My job is to warn him. If he doesn't assist me, it makes it harder. If he doesn't have the federal agencies pay me back what they stole, it just makes it harder to help save his life. Otherwise, I'm fine. But if he wants to play that game, it's just going to be harder and harder to protect him. And that's okay with me. If he wants it impossible for me to protect him, have at it, Satan. There's nothing more I can say. God bless. Thank you very much. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we'll see you mañana.